Hey yo, back again with another reaction video, man. Today's video, I got the Untold story of Lana documentary. I'm gonna check this one out, you feel me? So before I do, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Sit down, get your popcorn, because it's gonna be a long ass video. And yeah, let's just get straight into it.
Growing up in the 2010s in the era of Tumblr, infinity scarves, and flower crowns, it's hard to not remember the influence Lana Del Rey had on the world and the internet when she first popped onto the scene with her viral self-edited song, Video Games, with her following album, Born to Die, then becoming an immediate international success. Lana Del Rey's melancholic, vintage, dreamy aesthetic was and is engaging and immersive, and helped to garner her cult status relatively quickly. To many, Del Rey has come to mean so much more than just a celebrity or artist, but someone who has an irresistible air of mystique within her persona and her music. Her music has been noted by critics for its stylized cinematic quality, its preoccupation with themes of tragic romance, glamour, and melancholia, and its references to pop culture, particularly 1950s and 1960s Americana. All these factors helped Lana to truly make a name for herself in the music world and American pop culture. It can be really hard and sometimes honestly impossible to find a really well in-depth documentary made about Lana Del Rey that goes through all of her life. So today I wanted to basically create my own documentary and detail her early life, early career, and what led her to the success that she is at today.
Yeah, that's what we are here for, so thank you.
For in the second half, explain why I feel as though she does resonate with her fans, including myself, and why I do feel it is so powerful to so many different people. Lana Del Rey was born Elizabeth Woolridge Grant on June 21st, 1985 in Lake Placid, New York to parents Rob and Patricia Grant. Lana had a pretty quiet early life because of her town's seclusion and very small population. Around the ages of 14 to 15, she began to develop an alcohol dependency, and she was then sent to Kent boarding school to help become sober.
Wait, what?
Around the ages of 14 to 15, she began to develop an alcohol dependency, and she was then sent to Kent boarding school to help become sober. Lana
Yo, 14, 13, she was already...
has said, quote, "That's why I really got sent to boarding school, to get sober." Lana has said that she has had an early preoccupation with mortality and the idea of death, saying in a 2012 UK Telegraph interview, "When I was very young, I was sort of floored by the idea that my mother and my father and everyone I knew was going to die one day, and myself too. I had a sort of a philosophical crisis. I couldn't believe that we were mortal. For some reason, that knowledge sort of overshadowed my experience. I was unhappy for some time. I got into a lot of trouble. I used to drink a lot. That was a hard time in my life." End quote. Anyone who is also hip to Lana's unreleased canon can see her early boarding school experiences and her rebellious nature detailed pretty accurately at boarding school. She eventually moved to Long Island to live with her aunt and uncle while becoming a waitress. Lana eventually enrolled at Fordham University in the Bronx, where she majored in philosophy with a big interest in metaphysics. She's quoted as saying in a Rolling Stone interview, "I chose to study the subject because it, quote, bridged the gap between God and science. I was interested in God and how technology could bring us closer to finding out where we came from and why," end quote. Meanwhile, she lived with boyfriends and crashed on couches. She's quoted as saying, "I was writing for years, trying to figure out what I really wanted to say and why I was so consumed with this passion for writing and where it came from. It kept me up all night, so I was waiting to see why. That was really a whole separate world."
Me on to your black motorcycle, 50 baby doll dress for my I do.
Del Rey slowly began writing songs and performing in nightclubs around the city under various names, such as Sparkle Jump Rope Queen and Lizzie Grant and the Phenomena. In a 2012 interview for British Vogue, she said, "I was singing but didn't plan on pursuing it seriously. When I got to New York City when I was 18, I started playing in clubs in Brooklyn. I had good friends and devoted fans on the underground scene, but we were playing just for each other at that point, and that was it." Lana eventually got a recording contract with 5 Points after submitting acoustic demos and used the $10,000 she received to move into a mobile home in North Bergen, New Jersey, and began working with producer David Kane. Del Rey graduated from Fordham with a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy in 2008, after which she then released a 3-track EP, Kill Kill, as Lizzie Grant.
I'm in love with the dying man.
David David asked to work with me only a day after he got my demo. He is known as a producer with a lot of integrity and who had an interest in making music that wasn't just pop, Lana explains. When asked about what inspired her stage name, she is quoted as saying, "I wanted a name I could shape the music towards. I was going to Miami quite a lot at the time, speaking a lot of Spanish with my friends from Cuba. Lana Del Rey reminded us of the glamour of the seaside. It sounded gorgeous coming off the tip of the tongue." With some marketing help from her father, she released her first album titled Lana Del Rey, noticeably spelled with an A, in 2010, which was also available on iTunes. The record did pretty bad and was eventually pulled from all platforms because, in Lana's words, the label was unable to fund it. Lana was eventually able to get out of the record deal with 5 points, where she felt as if, quote, nothing was happening, and shortly after moved to London, where she met more friends and even acted in a short film called Poolside. Although Lana had bigger aspirations for her work and her career, the success and opportunity she desired lagged behind her. This was all about to change for her in October of 2011, however. The self-made music video for her song Video Games to YouTube on October 16th, 2011, which features vintage stock footage of playful scenes of America interspersed with shots of her singing on her webcam. Video Games became a viral hit sensation, and for a minute it seemed like it was impossible to get away from, especially on sites like Tumblr and Facebook. She says on the song, "I just put that song online a few months ago because it was my favorite. To be honest, it wasn't going to be a single, but people have really responded to it." In October of 2011, she signed a joint deal with Interscope Records and Polydor to release her second studio album, Born to Die. And this brings
This Born to Die album is crazy. I've reacted to a couple songs from the Born to Die album, but yeah.
us to the infamous SNL performance of Blue Jeans.
Blue jeans, white shirt.
Oh, and I've got a reaction from this live performance coming soon. Oh, it's already out. Either it's already out or it's coming soon. One of the two.
Oh, please stay here.
Many critics claim she sounds absolutely terrible, vocally shaky, and a manufactured fraud. Wow, watching this singer on SNL is like watching a 12-year-old in their bedroom when they are pretending to sing and perform. Hashtag sign of our times, tweeted actress and musician Juliette Lewis. Lana did eventually state in a response that she is more of a musician and not a performer, and that her true fans already know this. Nonetheless, Born to Die was released worldwide on January 31st, 2012 to commercial success, charting at number 1 in 11 countries and debuting at number 2 on the US Billboard 200 album chart, although critics at the time were divided. Born to Die was a blend of cinematic strings, overlaid trip-hop beats to the backdrop of poetic old money and Western Americana music videos, which made it especially successful on the internet and social media sites. Born to Die ended up selling 3.4 million copies in 2012, making it the 5th best-selling album of that year. In the United States, Born to Die charted on the Billboard 200 well into that same year, lingering at number 76 after 36 weeks on the chart. Lana did go on to release multiple other albums, including but not limited to the Paradise EP, Ultraviolence, Honeymoon, Lust for Life, NFR, and many others, leading all the way up to this year.
Yeah, I've reacted to, like, all the albums. I've reacted to at least 1 or 2 songs from all the albums that he mentioned, bro.
She gained even more acclaim with her radio hit Summertime Sadness and her work with soundtracks such as Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, writing Young and Beautiful, and Disney's Maleficent with Once Upon a Dream. Lana even went on to film Tropico, a musical short film directed by Anthony Mandler.
Yeah, I've reacted to that as well.
I was first introduced to Lana Del Rey in 2013, a couple months after moving from my hometown in Key West, Florida to Lewiston, New York, which is a very small town in the greater outskirts of Buffalo. As someone who is Cuban and from South Florida, moving right up to the border of Canada was a very hard culture shock and caused me to become very melancholic about Florida, and for the next couple years I began to obsess over where I used to be compared to where I was now. Hearing Lana echo experiences of traveling around the country, especially the South, South Florida, and the Keys, felt comforting and relatable. Moving from a place where Haitian, Dominican, and Cubans were the dominant ethnicities to a farm-like village with a population of mostly 98% older white people was definitely alienating, so hearing her romanticize and sing about her Cuban daddies or time spent in the Keys made me feel understood and seen. Del Rey's music, and especially her unreleased music, have these undertones of a longing to recapture old times and experiences traveling around the country, which reminded me of how I felt about being uprooted from my hometown and wanting to move back, and also about my travels around the US from LA, New York, and Chicago to Georgia, the Midwest, and Texas. This moves me to a bigger point about why I believe Lana has so much underground as well as mainstream appeal. Lana Del Rey has this ability to recapture and accurately express the emotions of being trapped in a melancholic-like state state of mind, longing for a time or a place that has long ago slipped away, but that you can never truly move on from, making you feel almost frozen in time. This intoxicating romanticizing of the past can feel like a drug, and sometimes it can get debilitating. I feel as though many teens can relate to this sort of feeling, as they themselves are basically going through one large transition, feeling torn between their happy and cheery childhood and the mature, mundane structure of adulthood. Add on top of that the hormones and mental ups and downs from the teenage experience, and it can be easy to find yourself romanticizing and missing the happier, colorful times of childhood, like Lana's longing for a past time, or relate with her dramatic, cinematic, and clingy romantic lyrics that describe someone you'll never truly stop loving or chasing. I mean, let's be real, all of us had that cringy ass moment when we were teenagers where we had this crush that we were obsessed with in middle school or high school. Can really relate to how the drama that we find in Lana's lyrics when she's singing about this clingy sort of love or pursuit of a person that you really,
I mean, hey, we have all been there, bro. We have all been there, bro.
can never let go of. Another big shock for me after moving was the difference in culture. South Florida culture is so far removed from what is seen as American culture in so many ways. The culture is heavily influenced by the tropical Caribbean and doesn't feel like what we would see in shows and movies that show what American life is like. So I felt very out of place, and again would depressingly reminisce about where I felt I was supposed to be. Lana in a way helped me to see the beauty in the Americana in a way to reclaim my happiness and outlook on my life. I felt American society, quiet suburbs, yellow school buses, American flags, and small forgotten towns like the one that I now lived in were boring and unrelatable. She helped change my perspective and to see these sometimes mundane aspects of American life from a more romanticized angle. One of Lana's most interesting aspects is her ability to romanticize seemingly monotonous and common experiences. Especially when listening to her unreleased music, you find things like going to the gas station and getting Slurpees.
Give me coffee, you
See me, it started off about Lana, and now it turned into like a whole different, like how Lana helped him or Lana helped. I thought it was gonna be strictly about Lana's past and his life. Like at the beginning it was, but it's like the topic keeps on changing. But yeah, let's just keep watching, bro.
Girl, you dream high. I'm trying to tell you what I dream of, and that's gas stations with Slurpee machines and organs playing.
Dancing around a trailer with Christmas lights on.
Dance at night back in Alabama. Christmas lights on my teal green trailer.
Or even going to the 7-Eleven.
Oh, and I also start reacting to Lana's unreleased song that never came out. I'll try to find them and react to it.
It sounds so surprisingly beautiful, poetic, and significant. This is very appealing to many of us that are tired of the unattainable, materialistic, and vapid claims to power and wealth in nearly all other forms of music today. This ability to reclaim the narrative from
R.I.P. to Takeoff, man. R.I.P. to
vapid claims to
R.I.P. to Takeoff. R.I.P. to Takeoff.
Power and wealth in nearly all other forms of music today. This ability to reclaim the narrative from the common, you need this expensive car or clothes or shoes to be beautiful and happy, to more of a your middle to lower class existence and all the tiny pleasures within it are just as beautiful mindset is so refreshing and validating. This makes her have so much more of a wider appeal and relatability to many people, being that the majority of the US is lower to middle class. Romanticizing of one's life can also dramatically help one view their situation in a different light and can even help someone cope with depression and dissatisfaction by reinforcing a belief that there is beauty in all things and all levels of life, not just the rich, unobtainable one. Another fact that's pretty hard to ignore is also Lana's large percentage of gay fans. I feel as though Lana is disproportionately
Yo, what do you mean by that? Trying to tell me if I listen to Lana I'm gay, bro? I enjoy Lana, but man don't swing that way, bro.
adored by gays and girls because of her love for the classic feminine aesthetic and the sometimes wholesome, vivid imagery about love and relation for, and a lot of gays feel as though we can never really have or find. This is because, in my opinion, gay culture can feel hypersexualized and extremely shallow at times, so music that describes true love, chivalry, and innocence can be very appealing and feel like a breath of fresh air.
And we gotta prove to the Mexicans how Mexican we are, and we gotta prove to the Americans how American we are. We gotta be more Mexican than the Mexicans and more American than the Americans, both at the same time. It's exhausting.
Being Cuban American, I also felt torn between these two separate identities, and I felt as if what was, again, constantly displayed as American culture on movies and in television was something that was really foreign and unrelatable. Like I said earlier, Lana helped to portray a new Americana that isn't limited to the pristine, unrealistic, idealistic lifestyle of the past. She was open about all aspects of her life, the good as well as the bad, and unapologetically stood by them instead of hiding them to preserve a certain type of image. Her experimentation with many different genres, including hip-hop and trip-hop,
tell by the swagger and the lips
flawless to perfection.
show an attempt at including other, sometimes left out categories as just as beautiful and romantic as the likes of Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, JFK, and other romanticized American icons. When American society tends to culturally exclude immigrant or non-white cultures, forcing them into their own separate box, I see Lana's blending and appreciation of them to show that they are just as American and beautiful as the other mainstream Anglo-Saxon cultural aspects. This synchronization of different sounds and romanticizing of cultures that are typically discriminated against in America, specifically in my case Latino, seems so refreshing to me. This is also not to say that that was her intent or her mission, but just what I personally gained from it.
And an obsession for freedom that terrified me to the point that I couldn't even talk about.
Lana Del Rey's obsession with the idea of freedom is another very consistent aspect in her lyrics. She constantly repeats the idea of starting over, driving and being on the road, or having nothing to lose, that it can begin to feel like a mantra at times. There is arguably nothing more American than the idea of freedom that being able to drive anywhere at any time offers. This concept of dropping all the petty and mundane aspects of your life in exchange for a wide open freedom where only you and your lover or close friends are all that matter is a very relatable and engaging idea that many of us can agree with and desire. Who hasn't felt so overwhelmed with their job, family, or life to the point where they just want to drop everything and move to a new city to enjoy the freedom of not knowing who you are and being able to rewrite your own story and reclaim your own personal narrative? Whatever you want to call her, Lana Del Rey, Lizzie Grant, or Sparkle Jump Rope Queen, I think we can all agree her unique take on songwriting and her outlook on the world have set her miles apart from her contemporaries.
True.
She began her musical journey on a more indie and underground note before transforming into a polished representation of classic American Hollywood and then moving towards psychedelic rock and baroque pop into where we find her today, slipping back to her original indie roots with her albums Blue Banisters and There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, which sonically echo her first album, Lana Del Rey. The way in which Del Rey is able to create a unique sound that isn't wholly one genre or another truly sets her apart from her peers in a world dominated by the cookie-cutter template of hip-hop and electronic pop. She pays homage to a bygone American image sprinkled with modernity and to a type of life where the small things are romanticized simply because they can be and not because it's what society says should be. She speaks to an entire generation because of her ability to create music that cinematically and authentically tells stories, which create stark contrast to the shallow, inauthentic, materialistic music and culture that we are drowning in our world today. So yeah, that was my attempt at making a small little documentary explanation video about Lana and her life. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching.
But yeah, like I said, bro, like at the beginning, yes, it was about Lana, but I wanted to know about her backstory, and all I got from this is her, like, she started drinking when she was at the age of 13, 14, and she went to university I forgot the subject, but you know the difference between God and, like, to get closer to, like, God and science. Like, you know, that was the beginning. Yes, it was about her, but then but it's cool though. It's a cool documentary, don't get me wrong. It's a cool documentary. But yeah, that's it. If you have made it to the end, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. If you have a different documentary that you want me to check out of her, let me know. I'll do it. Subscribe and see you in the next one. I'm out.